right, good evening. It is now 5:03. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust here in Kingston. It's October 3rd, 2024. In the room are trustees
Paul Armstrong.
and Jean Landis-Nauman. Online, we have trustees.
Jill Vaughn.
Nathan Hedberg.
There we go. All right, we may be having someone else join us in a little bit. Okay, so this meeting is being recorded by the local scene, formerly the PAC TV. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify the chair at this time. Seeing none. Okay, the first order of business then is to approve the minutes of our last meeting on September 5th, 2024. Hope that all of you have had a chance to take a look at those minutes.
I actually did.
You did, all right.
Yes,
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the September 5th meeting minutes.
A
All right.
second.
And a second. Are there any corrections or changes?
Very
Okay,
good
then
job.
I
I did
will-
not see any.
I'll take a vote.
Aye, Paul Armstrong, aye.
Jean, I,
Nathan,
Sheila,
aye.
I.
and Nathan, I. 4-0. Very good. Thank you. Okay, declaration of trust. As you know, we all had to sign the new declaration of trust. And then Patricia Tucker came to me and said, what do I do with this now? And I said, well, what happened last time was town council took it down and put it, did what they had to do with the registry of deeds. She came back to me this week and said she sent it to town council. They said no, they would not be doing it. And she said she was trying to find out the proper process.
They wouldn't do it because they just don't do it?
I
Or they
don't
just-
know.
They didn't want to do it.
I was looking for the exact language she sent me. Bear with me a second here. Okay, let me see if I still have it on here.
But everything's recorded at the registry, so
I know.
that means they just didn't have the people to do it. I don't know.
Okay. So I just said, where are we with this? She says, I'm trying to find someone to submit to the registry of deeds. I sent it to town council and I followed up last week. I was informed that that is not their responsibility and I need to figure out who can do that. I will let you know.
Anybody.
So I told her to just let us know what we need to do. So we're still waiting to have that delivered to the registry of deeds, because as a trust, we cannot take any action to purchase or do any formal activity until that's registered. So
You're gonna wait to hear back from her.
I am for a small
You
amount of
might
time.
need to have somebody cut a check.
Okay, so there's a fee.
Here,
You have
always.
any, yeah, you have any idea what the fee is? Okay.
No, they used to, but that was a long time ago.
Okay, all right. If it comes back that we have to do that and there's a fee.
Yeah.
I probably should get a motion today to authorize that.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Let's see, do we want to set a maximum amount?
Yes, what do you want to set? What do you think is a reasonable
I don't
amount?
know, that
You think
way
it's-
more than it used to be.
Think it's more than 100?
Yeah, I would say so. It depends how many pages it is.
It's not that thick. Maybe 6, 7?
Yeah,
So what do you think, 200?
I can't, I don't know.
Well, we have to put an amount in the
Okay,
motion.
say 500.
Up to 500?
Yeah.
I second.
We're not gonna spend it.
No,
Oh.
no, I can only spend what they
It
require.
might be $30 a page. I just don't know.
Okay,
So 300, do that. I don't care.
well, decide.
300.
Okay,
All right, I'll second for 300.
do I hear
Today's
four?
daily
Yeah,
double.
I was gonna say.
Okay, I just don't want to stop it from being done in case it's whatever, I just want to make
Right.
sure we have enough. Um,
We
If
can
you
find
think-
out how much it is. I can find out. how
yeah,
much.
as long as it, 300 is fine. I mean, I just don't, if it's 500, then we have to wait another month and that would stink, but
I mean,
I guess we'll just see what happens.
do it, get the money back.
Okay. Okay, so what we have on the table right now is a motion to authorize payment of up to $300 to register our declaration of trust with the Registry of Deeds. And that's been seconded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. Paul?
Oh, I,
Nathan, I.
Nathan?
Sheila, I,
Sheila? Jean, I. Okay, so 4-0. So I'll follow up with her and see if it's just a matter of me, going down there with money. I'm not sure how we do that, but I'll figure it out.
yeah, we did cut a check with it. Oh,
Yeah,
she wouldn't pay us back.
okay. All right, so that's where we are with the Declaration of Trust update. So the new Affordable Homes Act, I want to just put that aside for a moment because that'll be, I think, hopefully a lengthy discussion. I wanted to get through all the other stuff on our agenda. I do not have any more information on our SHI. I did ask the town planner for an update on where we are. And did I do with it?
Really?
Printed it out. And I brought it.
I just looked it up. I don't know if it's the same thing, but on the red, can I just pop in for a second?
Sure.
It says here on the, it says the declaration fee schedule, Plymouth County. This is old from 2019, but back in 2019, declaration of trust was $255.
255.
So,
Okay, so the
That was in
300.
2019.
Yeah,
so-
so the 300 might be close.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right, so I did ask Valerie for an update on a couple of items that we had talked about at the last meeting. One was a grant application to update the housing production plan. She has not received any update on that. The draft language for the mandatory MBTA zoning was final approved by council this morning, and it is posted on the town website under Kingston MBTA zoning district warrant article. There's a lot of other information on the planning department website about the MBTA zoning and televised presentations and meetings with Keith Hickey on his TV show This Week in Kingston. There will be more information televised on Keith's show, and the hearing is October 28th. So that's a date for us to keep in mind for the public hearing on this. And as she indicated, it will be a warrant article, and the special town meeting is November. Do you know what it is, Paul? Do we know, Paul, what the special town meeting
Yeah.
date is? Hang on.
I have November 19, but I don't know if that's
That sounds
changed.
right. Let me just page through here and see. Yes. November 19th at 7 PM. So the October 28th is the public hearing on the MBTA zoning. Okay, now the next one, Paul, maybe you can help me understand what she's saying. She said, we're also looking to sunset the residential phasing bylaw because the state has made any towns that still have this on their zoning ineligible for planning and other grants on the community one-stop portal. And because town council advises it is questionable that it could be enforced. Can you?
Sure can.
All right.
Back in the good old days, when everybody was building 100 houses a year in Kingston, most of the towns enacted a, what do they call that, a developmental scheduling bylaw that said, if you have a project, you can do 20, you can actually develop and build on 20%. Up to a total of, they had a threshold, the maximum amount that you could do in any particular year.
Mhm.
The trouble with the bylaw is that it wasn't flexible at all. So if you put in a 10-lot subdivision, and you could put in a subdivision, you could use 2 lots, and then you had to wait 5 years before you could use them all. In the meantime, you got to pay for all the municipal improvements. So on a couple of big projects, we used them, but in general, it was hard to enforce it because it became a financial nightmare for anybody trying to develop.
Mhm.
So, and for instance, it didn't differentiate between apartment buildings and single-family residences, which was most in control. So if you ask, how come nobody built an apartment in town? It's because you could build the whole building and you only could rent 20% of them. And then the next year you could rent another 20% of them, and the next year another 20%. So it just wasn't economically feasible.
Okay, have we applied that to any
Not lately,
recent? Okay,
not for
So-
quite a while.
so what we're looking to do is to.
Tidy it up. I
Okay,
don't know, it's economically prohibitive to be able to do any sort of modern kind of planning
Mhm.
as far as housing production. If you say, okay, you can only do 20% of it, but you just can't. Then you
Okay.
see,
Do you know what the
that made the
thinking?
40Bs come flying in.
Yeah, do you know what the thinking was behind that? Was just gradual growth? Was that the?
Yes, it was gradual growth without, it was pretty focused on, I don't think they did a good study to see how it affected everything. It just seemed like a good idea at the time to put some temporary brakes on.
Okay,
But the ramifications of it were enormous.
right, particularly for the developers, I would think.
Yes, and for anyone trying to do a project,
Yeah.
I want to do a 10 unit apartment building. I can build the whole building because you can't build in parts. And then I
Right.
can only rent 2.
Yeah, yeah,
So
okay. Anybody
that's-
have questions on that?
you want to know why we got a lot of 40Bs.
That was one of the reasons, because they were not subject. to
That's
it.
right.
Thanks for the explanation, Paul. That really helped.
Sorry about that. Let me turn this little guy off. Okay, all right, anybody have any questions or? I mean, I understand now what she was talking about. Okay, Nathan, you good?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right, so that was our latest update from the town planner. Okay. Appointment to the CPC. I know the CPC is gearing up. They've already had one meeting. Am I correct, Nathan?
Yes.
Okay, and can you give us a little bit of a schedule for CPC? Because as we normally do, I was planning on submitting an application on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yep. Let's see, the first meeting in this sort of cycle happened last week. And it was the public hearing to take input on where the focus areas should be for the CPC plan. Now we
Now-
have this
Can I just
town.
interrupt you? How is
Yeah.
that advertised?
On the town calendar,
Okay. Did it say specifically it was for public comment?
I think so.
Okay. Was there any public there?
Yeah, there were. A few people spoke about the need for better access to open space, primarily for like handicap accessibility to some of the town land.
Okay. Because I often wonder how the general public knows about that meeting, because as you know, I kind of keep an eye on it, and several years running, I have not seen any announcement that
Hmm.
it was like hearing, so. Okay, so you've had your first meeting, and what's the next meeting? What's your schedule for this year as to when the application season opens, when it closes? Have you set that?
We have, yeah, let me just check the notes.
Okay.
I have it here. Okay, so October 24, project assessments are due. So those are the sort of preliminary applications that the committee will review to see that they're fundable in the sense that they follow the rules of CPA.
Okay,
November 7 is the committee meeting to consider project assessments. Okay, so due date October 24, then we review them November 7. December 12 is the due date for the full application.
okay,
And then we have some meetings scheduled after that to review the applications.
okay. Okay, so I need to get busy on that. Is there any discussion about us submitting an application to the CPC? Sheila, I think you've been around, you know that we've traditionally submitted an application for some of the funding that's in the housing bucket.
Oh,
We've-
absolutely, yes.
We've not
And,
asked for anything beyond what's in the housing bucket at this point because we don't have a dedicated project.
All right. I know that, it's interesting you say that because there's been talk of like, when do they do meet? Because it's like, oh, they're already midway through the projects already. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know they started meeting. So I think it is interesting of who's going to be on the list this year. I know like the playground and stuff like that was a big proponent of stuff and things like that. Like
Yeah,
school. So yeah, no, that's great.
Yep,
okay,
I support us putting an application in.
okay, so I will do that. The assessment form is right on your on the webpage, right?
Right.
Okay, okay, I'll get to that. That's due by the 24th. Okay, appointment to the CPC. As you know, there has been no one in the seat representing housing on the CPC. We have tried to work with the Kingston Housing Authority to see if they want to appoint someone. They had someone on there for many years, and I would say for the last 4 or 5, there's been no representative in that seat. That's why I went to town meeting and had the bylaw changed so that should the housing authority not have a nominee, then we could present an appointment for that for the CPC. Sheila, you had indicated some interest, but I know since then you've been appointed to the school committee. So I wasn't sure if there was still interest there. As you know, Nathan is on the CPC, but as a private citizen and has
Mhm.
expressed his desire to remain on there as a private citizen.
Yeah, and the school committee doesn't have, as long as it's not having opposite roles, where it's like, the Mondays, once, the first Monday of the month, it always seems to be the first of everything of the month. So like I'm on the collaborative tonight at like 5:50 or something tonight. I have to go on that. But as long as it doesn't conflict with with the other meetings that I have, I'm perfectly fine to be on it.
Okay,
Okay.
Nathan, do you
Yeah,
know
the
what
schedule
nights?
is usually Thursdays, and it is usually the first week of the month, so first Thursday, but sometimes it's the second Thursday.
Yeah,
This is-
it often follows our meeting. They're usually coming in as we're leaving. So
Okay.
that would mean just really one night obligated,
Yeah.
until they get into the heart of it.
I think that's fine. If it's Thursdays after this meeting, then that works out for me.
Okay, Nathan, once you get all the applications in, how often do you normally meet?
Once a month. Yep, till March when we make the final
Okay, so
decision for
once a
town
month
meeting.
until you make the recommendations.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so you're all right with that, Sheila? Okay. I
I
will
put
make,
myself on mute again. Yes, yes, I am okay with that.
I'll make a motion to appoint Sheila to the CPC. Paul has seconded that. Is there any more discussion?
I will be happy to go there tomorrow when I go look at my other committees. I'm working.
I will have to send
Yes,
an email tonight to let them know that you're being appointed. All right, so let's take a vote. Paul,
Oh,
Jean, I, Nathan,
Nathan, I.
Sheila,
Sheila.
I.
All right, finally.
Awesome. Yay!
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, I will put that on my calendar.
Okay. Up to now, I'm not sure that it's had any negative impact by not having someone in that seat, but you never know. And certainly the makeup of the CPC does change from year to year. We did go through a period where there was a lot of opposition to funding the Affordable Housing Trust. So I think it's important that they created that specific chair and it needs to be filled for the committee to do their work. All right, so excellent. Okay. Planning board activity regarding housing. We have a notice of public hearing from the planning board. Public hearing is going to be on October 7th at 7:02 at the Kingston Townhouse on the condition of Jack Green for approval of a special permit for the town of Kingston zoning bylaw section 5.2, table of uses, and for section 7.8, accessory housing units to allow for an accessory dwelling unit at property owned by the petitioner located at 195 Summer Street and is shown on the designated Kingston Assessor's Map 13 Lot 18. Copy of the application and plans are available for inspection at the town clerk's office during regular hours. Any person interested in desiring to comment on these items should appear at the time and place designated above. The complete text and any pertinent maps are on file and available for inspection at the town clerk's office. Okay. So this must be our first ADU.
this is the first local bylaw since the bylaw was changed at the town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
The only outstanding question is whether or not, when we hear back from the state as far as, when they review all the zoning articles, I don't think they've heard back yet, but they're going forward
Okay.
under the new bylaw, because under the old bylaw, he didn't have a big enough lot because the lot sizes were so restricted, but under the new bylaw, he's fine. He's
Okay.
taking what Jack had physical therapy office, because that's what he was, a physical therapist. So it's all inside the existing building, and be on the right-hand side between the house and the garage.
Okay,
An existing land, so it's, I don't think personally, I don't think the planning board has any problem with it at all. Because everything is existing. It's just a matter of that, whether or not if the Attorney General hasn't said okay to the bylaw, whether or not it's recordable, I don't know. Hopefully by the time they read the 21 days and all that is over, maybe they'll have an answer, maybe they can get it.
okay, and this is from the,
He's on Summer Street.
no, but this was at the annual town meeting in
This
May
annual town, yeah, because we.
that was approved.
Yes.
Now it's up to the Attorney General for review, and we've not had a
And when
final.
it's approved, then it goes back to the day of town meeting and voted, but
Right,
they're supposed to approve it before you actually start
Right.
using it.
okay, and I did have an inquiry asking why we had to go through this, and I pointed out that the state ADU bylaw does not go into effect until February 2nd of 2025. So until then, we have the most recent bylaw voted on at town meeting, but yet to be approved by the state Attorney General's office. And I believe,
I mean, that's
What-
not the latest I knew was last Monday.
Okay. I believe what Valerie told me is that once that probably for the, I don't know, I don't think it's for the special, but maybe for the annual, there'll be a modification of our ADU to
To mirror,
mirror the state.
because I don't know, the first blush about what the language says in the state law is that if it's under 900 square feet, you get it as a matter of right. If it's
Right.
over 900 square feet, the town has the right to require a special permit.
Right,
The town could also allow more than one on a lot, as long as they have a special permit process they've set up. So where they're going with that, I don't know, but
Okay.
if you want to make one bigger than 900 square feet,
then the town
you'd have to-
can
you'd have
step
to-
in,
you have to go for a
special,
special permit.
okay.
So
There's,
that gets it takes it out of the section 6, chapter 48, section 6, the one you can't unreasonably regulate.
Mhm.
It brings it back into a regular local bylaw, so it could be more restrictive when you get over 9, if they wanted to, over
Right.
900 square feet.
Okay, there is some good reading material on the new act regarding accessory dwelling units on the state website. If you
Yeah, a lot
wanna-
of stuff.
Yeah, if you want to take a look at what's there right now, and I'm sure we'll be getting more. I did ask Mass Housing Partnership if they were going to do any kind of training or presentation, and I kind of got a no.
I think the biggest outstanding, it's not really an issue, but the biggest question is what's reasonably regulated? Because the town has the right to have those people that want to do that go for a site plan review from the planning board to meet reasonable regulations, but that's up in the air completely. What's reasonable?
Yeah, yeah, don't you love those waffle words?
Yeah.
All right, so, I think I'm gonna try and attend, I just want to see how it goes for this. I think I have it on my calendar, let me make sure. Nope, okay, need to get that on there, okay. Any further discussion on that? This
No, I
should
have
be-
I have it on my calendar to go, so I was gonna plan on going, so.
Should be interesting going forward to see just what interest there is here in Kingston on the ADUs. Okay,
You wait till after February,
right, right,
because when you read it, the state doesn't, there's nothing in there about living there when you have an ADU. There's nothing about ownership as far as whether it's all owned by the same thing and we're trying to do something creative.
Yep.
It's gonna be interesting for a while.
Yeah, and I think I did mention at the last meeting that our town council has issued some,
Yeah, yeah.
this is an advisory on the
Yeah.
ADU. Bylaw.
There's two different, they say the same thing, but for two different law groups. One is Coleman Page and one is Holland.
Okay, right. Okay, okay. Also in Mass Housing Partnership, they have advancing complete neighborhoods, this major state economic development bill in 2021 that included the MBTA communities law was about much more than zoning. It also included an array of funding to support transit-oriented development across the Commonwealth. And Mass Housing Partnership is delivering those resources statewide through the Complete Neighborhoods Partnership program that works with communities to identify and implement strategies to accelerate investments in affordable housing near transit and mobility hubs. And we were not selected to participate in round one. Those were Brockton, Chelsea, Fitchburg, Plainville, and North Attleboro. There were 6 from Franklin County. So there's more information on the Mass Housing Partnership website. I don't know how often you go on there. I get some of their stuff pushed to me, so if you're not registered to get emails from them, you might want to consider doing that. There was another one on there about turning public land into affordable housing, and this had to take place in Brewster. So there was some interesting information on just how that process worked down there. Then there was also a recent email from them saying about recorded trainings on 2024 Housing Institute and more. So again, if you've missed some of the trainings, weren't able to attend, or you just are interested in what type of trainings they've provided recently, that is available on their website. I find it a little tricky to sometimes find the things that pertain to municipalities and to affordable housing trusts. But they do have a search engine on there, and you can find some of this stuff. I mean, they have a lot of information. They have a lot of money. They are a quasi-government group that are specifically geared to help housing trusts and other housing groups. So it's always good to periodically check in and see what they have there. If I see trainings coming up that I think are of value, I try and push those through to you also. I think the last one though was pretty far out of our geographic area, so. But they do have a lot of good information. One other item before we start talking about the new Affordable Homes Act. Just today, I received a volunteer form through the Selectman's office, an individual in Kingston who is interested in serving as a trustee. I did forward that to you, but it was late in the day, so you may not have had adequate time to look at it. He had indicated
I did.
he might attend virtually, but I have been watching and not seen him come in on our meeting yet. His name is Nicholas LaJoy. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He has practiced real estate law here in Mass since 2016. Began his career representing lenders, litigated many cases involving real estate law issues. Since 2018, he's worked at the Boston Housing Authority as a hearing officer and now as an attorney in its legal department. He also has familiarized himself with the Boston Housing Authority's recently implemented new first-time home buyer program, which is compliant with Mass General Law 40B. So they are looking for a recommendation from us before they appoint him as a trustee. Any comments, questions, discussion?
I haven't met him, but the application seems very promising. Seems like a good candidate.
Well, it's a position that we've been looking for since we started, someone with legal
Yeah,
background in housing issues. So
I
I don't
think
know
it's-
which of you recruited him. Whoever, thank you. All right, so what do you think?
what do they want from us? They want a
They,
motion or something?
yes, they want a recommendation from us.
So a positive recommendation, you want a motion to support or whatever, whatever
Mhm.
you think is the best language for that.
Okay,
I guess would appoint him to the trust?
to recommend appointment to the trust. How about that?
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Paul,
Aye.
Jean, I.
Nathan, I.
Sheila, I.
Okay, great. So I will send that on to the selectmen. All right, we may be able to have Nicholas join us at our next meeting.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah,
Background, we got background.
yeah. So now, this morning, I was in the townhouse for a different meeting. And I was meeting with the health agent, and she mentioned to me that there's another procedure for, excuse me, abandoned houses that does not have the same requirements as the tax title current requirements, where once the property is sold and all the back taxes are paid off, then the rest of the money goes back to the owner. So she said this procedure is different. So I thought if you were interested, I would invite her to the next meeting to tell us about this process. In the meantime, I'll ask her if she can send us to a website or something so we can read a little bit about it.
Is it receivership?
I'm sorry, I don't recall exact words that she used, but it had to do with abandoned property.
Yeah, they've done it in, mostly in cities more than towns.
Mhm.
If the one I was familiar with, if you have a piece of property that's like abandoned and they're behind on taxes and abandoned, you can go to court and have and get, with a contract, a construction person. They can actually, I'm not sure how that part works out,
Mhm.
but they actually get a house put in a receivership. Then they can rehab that particular house.
Right,
They can bill for whatever they say is appropriate for that bill. They can send the bill to the owner, present owner of the property. If he doesn't pay it, then they go to court and the judge can actually allow the person, the debt holder, to foreclose on.
mhm. Okay, all right, so
That's
I'm gonna
real
ask.
simple, it's, it's a lot more
Yeah.
involved with that.
Right, so what I thought I would do is, if you were interested, I would ask her if she can point us to some information and then have her come in and tell us. She said she has gone through this process in other communities, so thought it would be interesting to see. There's gotta be more tools in our toolbox, and this might possibly be one, so always looking for more info. What do you guys think? You think it's worth our time and hers to have her come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be
Okay.
great.
All right, so we'll do that. Okay, how are we doing time-wise? Sheila, you said you had to leave. You have another meeting?
Yeah, so I have the Pilgrim Area Collaborative, just once a year, they have like a 5:45 meeting because it's Board of
Okay.
Trustees. So
Mhm.
just to meet about the right, so I have to meet at 5:45, but that's the only time ever in the year that I have to go.
Sure, sure, okay.
So I feel
Um,
bad. Are you okay if I go or not? I can probably spend a
Okay.
couple more minutes.
No, absolutely. I did get a call from Mark Guidaboni about some property on Pembroke Street. And he had been talking to Habitat for Humanity. That also came up this morning in the meeting with the health agent to see what's going on there. So Mark originally wanted to come in and talk to us about it. Then he called me and he said he wasn't so sure what was happening with the property. So there is a potential for a discussion down the road. I just wanted to be sure you were aware that it was communicating with him about that.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. The other.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Sorry,
thanks,
Bye.
Sheila.
No, thank you. And this is the only time I promise, because
No problem. No
be in
problem.
person next time. All right, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right, so we don't have anything to talk about. I have not looked on the website for the MBTA zoning, but we do have the information that has come in on the Affordable Homes Act, which there is a provision in there for year-round housing in seasonal communities, and I understand that
Yeah, there's-
Representative Fernandez, who's now running for
Yeah, see, there's
the
a
Senate.
separate section for like places down the Cape and
Right.
Nantucket that really have an issue. We're not in that group.
Not yet. He's hoping to perhaps include Plymouth County
Okay.
in the next legislative session. But I think it's overdue because of the housing issues they face on the Cape. As we know, when it gets
I
busy,
thought a couple of the towns on the Cape were included, but maybe not.
we're or we're not.
Were included, but maybe not. I don't
Okay.
know.
All municipalities in Dukes and Nantucket counties and certain municipalities in Barnstable and Berkshire
Yeah, so-
counties.
So
Okay.
Barnstable and what are Berkshire counties, there'll be stuff,
Lennox in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Lennox, but.
No, but You
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, it might be really hard to find seasonal housing out there.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah, in Berkshire County, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
just
think
in-
that's the issue is that it's difficult for the people who live there year round. And
Yeah.
then when you have seasonal visitors and you have all these businesses who need to bring in
When people
employees
start- If
just
you're
for
a
the
place like
season.
Berkshire County or down the Cape, or everybody wants, people's gonna afford one and have a summer house,
Right,
and it just eats into the inventory.
right. But I think there's a big issue with finding appropriate housing for seasonal employees. Certainly on the islands, it's a
Up
big
here,
issue.
this is much up here.
No, I
I
know
talked
there's,
to people in restaurants, that have restaurants that are talking about buying an apartment building just to
Right.
keep their cooks.
right,
you
right.
know?
So, and ours isn't particularly seasonal. It's an ongoing issue. Is having appropriate housing for employees. But anyway, I just wanted to say that is one of the provisions in the new Affordable Homes Act that was passed in August. And that the sponsoring Representative Fernandez is looking at including Plymouth County in that. and
Subject to you
maybe-
getting them elected.
Well, even if he stays as a representative,
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, then the second thing, of course, is the accessory dwelling units. And as Paul has pointed out, there are certain sizes that are as of right under this provision and provision for municipalities to have some reasonable restrictions or other things for something beyond that. Then non-conforming lots.
But most importantly,
Mhm.
I don't think they can restrict the lot size.
Mm.
I don't think they can do that. They can dimensional.
You
see, they can do
mean the
dimensional
town?
stuff.
The town,
The town can. And then you do dimensional stuff like how far off the sideline, how off the back line, things like that. How much parking you need, like on some of those, you can't even, in some, I think in those, the beginning ones that we're not in now, I don't think you can even require to have any parking,
Right,
okay?
Yeah.
But it's mostly dimensional stuff. I don't think the town will have the ability to set any sort of density requirements.
okay. And I think one of the major differences is that our newly accepted bylaw required the owner to live in one of the units, and I believe
Yeah,
that
they
was
make that-
removed.
Yeah, they're adamant about that stuff.
Yeah, which,
And they had somewhat of a round table discussion. I wasn't privy to it, but that Jason saw, and I think Val was involved in, listening to it. It was experts,
mhm,
and, that was one of the things that, that seemed to say without question that you can't use density as a, and they also were pretty specific, and the state was too, about the fact that you can't limit the ownership to, have somebody has to live there.
mhm,
I think they even went as far as somebody asked them about condominium, you have, so you build a house and then you build an ADU in the back, and then you go, okay, I have a 2-unit condominium here, I can, like they do the 3-deckers in Boston, where everybody's owns a level. I think that they may end up in court or something, but they seem to think that ownership couldn't be one of those things that you can, regulate.
okay. All right. Then there was a section in there in the new law about non-conforming lots. We can no longer treat adjacent non-conforming lots under common ownership in single-family residential zoning districts as having merged if the lots at the time of recording or endorsement were conforming as to area, frontage, width, yard, and depth, subject to certain qualifications.
We had some
These
new-
lots must
yeah.
contain not less than 10,000 square feet of area and have at least 75 feet of frontage. Furthermore, any single-family residential structure to be built upon such a lot cannot exceed 1,850 square feet of heated living area, shall contain at least 3 bedrooms, and cannot be used as a seasonal home or short-term rental.
That's.
How will that impact us?
Not much.
Okay.
We don't have that many lots that are, there's a ton of lots down the Rocky Nook, but there's not that many of them that are still in, that hadn't been combined because they didn't want to pay a sewer betterment or whatever. That, most of those down there are 50 by 100. There's not too many, 10,000 square foot, 75-foot wide that are still
Still
being
there.
vacant, and they're still described individually, they haven't been combined by deed.
Mhm.
So we put language in the bylaw quite a few years ago to protect lots and subdivisions that have been created, as long as they're 20,000 square feet, that they wouldn't lose their identity, because the state law doesn't give you any protection, and we had problems with houses being built on lots that no one really cared about at the time, about that particular part, and then going after the house had been like a Silver Lake driving up in that way. People are going to get mortgages, remortgage or selling them, and people were finding that their nonconformity had run out before they built them, because it was one of those subdivisions, some of those subdivisions got taken over by the bank, because people went bankrupt.
Okay.
So we have language in our bylaw that says if you have 20,000 square feet and it was created by subdivision control, then even if you're commonly owned together, they're still valid. So we already had something like that, maybe I put it a long time ago, but
Okay, so this will
Yeah, there's
not
not
have
that-
any
yeah.
major change, okay. Another provision was affordable housing for veterans. It applies to municipalities which have adopted or permitted inclusionary or incentive zoning or density bonus ordinances or bylaws. Municipality may enter into an agreement with the developer for up to 10% of units in an affordable housing development to be set aside for preference to low or moderate income veterans for the first 90 days of the initial marketing period applicable to these units. Any such agreement does not affect the municipality's ability to receive credit under Chapter 40B or any other law for these affordable units, does not require an increase in the existing amount of affordable housing units required by the municipality. Law does allow municipalities to require proof of veteran status and income eligibility. Do you see any
Before,
impact
no.
here?
Before you couldn't discriminate for anybody for anything. Now they're saying they got a 90-day window,
A preference.
a preference for 10% for veterans. And after 90 days, if they don't have any, then this goes back, that 10% of the
Okay.
affordable units go back into the kitty.
All right. So those are the major, as far as I could see, the major provisions. There are a couple others that seem to be more appellate oriented. Nathan, did you have a chance to look at any of this material? Did you have any additional items you want to talk about or any comments?
No, no notes.
Okay.
I think most of the changes are good. I personally like the idea of one of the ADU units being occupied by the owner. I thought that was sort of what defined it as an ADU versus just a duplex.
Right.
So, it seems like a big change to me.
That one is, and
And it's perked the interest of developers to saying,
yeah,
I can I can buy a house. It maybe needs a little work, fix it up, put an ADU in the back
right.
without having to buy another lot for another
Yeah,
unit.
yeah. To me, it kind of skirts the intent of accessory dwelling unit.
Mhm.
Originally, it was
They
to,
just want people to build them.
yeah, but to accommodate, a relative or a friend or child,
Yeah.
to allow for closer housing in a familial type arrangement, and certainly to people you're not related to, because I know it's very popular in California, and it's just another source of revenue for a homeowner. So it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out
Yeah. that would be-
once you don't have that provision in there, to see just what happens. Because to me, you're just building you're putting a second house on a lot.
That's what they want. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's the thrust.
Yeah. Well, we do know there's finite amount of property left, and there's still a great need for housing. So infilling is really
What they want.
what's left. If you're not going to eat up all your open space. And here in Kingston, we've made a big commitment to having adequate open space. And I know even the new housing plans that come in, planning board is trying to cluster the housing, and so that
Yeah,
not all the property
yeah.
is
The master
built on.
plans, the last couple of them have shown, trying to do that, bring them near the major arteries and the transportation and stuff.
Right,
The trouble is, whenever you get a vacant piece of property, then a lot of people wanna preserve it as vacant rather than, even if it's on the master plan, because I can show you a couple on the master plan.
well, it seems to me too that for a builder, the infrastructure cost would be far less if you've got your buildings clustered rather than spread out over
Yeah.
10
Well, that-
acres
yeah.
or whatever. So it would reduce their costs, I would hope, and maybe make the housing units a little bit less costly.
I think part of it, the thought might have been that whenever a piece of property that would lend itself to a fairly dense development becomes available in a municipality, then the municipality moves to preserve it for open space. So that those never become available.
Right,
And so then what are you left with is infilling.
right, yeah, I guess it's, it's a trick trying to balance the open space versus the building space, what portion goes for housing, what portion goes for businesses. and what's a good mix for
Hey
a
Nathan,
community.
have you heard any more what's going on with the project that was near you?
It passed through the ZBA again. The ZBA didn't really have any plan or proposal to look at. So there wasn't much progress there. So now the next step is for the Housing Appeals Committee to make a ruling on whether they want to try to uphold the original request for the 20 units, or make some kind of modification.
Okay, so it's been an appeal for some time, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Has there been a private appeal by abutters and neighbors at all, or just? Or
Just-
just
just
the zoning?
through the ZBA, really.
okay.
Uh,
All right,
there are pending legal issues that have been sort of waiting in the event that the HAC doesn't really take this seriously and just says yes to everything. Then there are other legal issues that abutters can raise.
With a lot more teeth, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Well, hopefully we won't get to that.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna check on the registry of deeds and see if I can do that and just get it taken care of. I'm also going to do our project assessment form for the CPC, and I'm going to send a notice that to the selectmen that we recommend appointment of Mr. LaJoy to the trust. And I will contact the health agent for more information on the procedure she was talking about this morning and invite her to a meeting. Is that summary of pretty much where we are? Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so the next meeting would be October 7th,
What? October,
November 7th.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, at 5 o'clock. Okay. All right, and Paul, so grateful to have you here as a trustee because you have,
I talk too much.
well, no, you have the background that I know I do not have in housing issues, and now that you're going to be the building inspector
Until they find somebody.
until they find someone else.
Monday morning, I'll be upstairs saying, so how are we doing?
Yeah.
Who you got?
You know, we'll be listening closely to see what's happening.
Yeah,
In your shop.
It's tough for these towns to find that kind of positions for all of them.
Mhm.
That's when they start
Yeah.
recruiting out of the towns.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, and we'll see what happens at town meeting, what articles are on there that could affect us. I believe Keith said that they expect to get the warrant out shortly so that residents will know what's going to be on there. Okay, and we've got the public hearing on the 7th. Okay, anything else? All right. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second that wholeheartedly.
Okay, vote. Jean, aye.
Oh,
Nathan, I.
Okay, 6:02. Excellent.
perfect.